Welcome to the Obesity Medicine Podcast with your host, Dr. Matea Rentia, board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. Here, we talk about a path to metabolic health, and we have real conversations about chronic weight management and living a full life. Just a reminder, I am a physician, but I'm not your physician. So everything that's on this podcast is for informational purposes, but please go talk to your doctor about what's right for you. There is no medical advice being given on this podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I cannot believe that we are toward the end of the year here. As I'm recording this, we've been doing weeks and weeks of the Momentum Challenge, and it has been so fun. And it got me thinking as I'm going through these calls and as we're connecting in the WhatsApp group and everyone's doing amazing, it made me reflect on what are some of the sort of top lessons that I learned this past year. And some trends emerged. Some things really shocked me and some things I know, but just got more solidified. But when I was thinking about it, I think there's a top 5 lessons here that I could go through. I wrote these out and I want to go over them today. And the point is, we're all at different places in our journey. And one thing that I always stress is that this road is never done. Overweight and obesity, it's a chronic, relapsing, and remitting condition. Means you have times when things are amazing and you have times when you struggle. And I found that this past year, despite, I don't even know how much I lost. I haven't done the exact math, but this year was a big mindset year change. And I'm going to go over that here. And so I want to tell you that it's not always about what the scale's doing. Yes, the scale went down for me, but that is actually not the biggest win of the year. There are some things that occurred here that are just landmark for me, that if these can stick around, we're going to have a different future. Maybe you can take some inspiration from it. Maybe you've already accomplished these things. Maybe you're heading into these things. Maybe these are never going to be a thing for you. But I think it's always fascinating hearing what other people learn and their wisdom, and then seeing if any of it can apply to me. Here's where I'm at the moment. Number 1, your tastes will evolve if you give them space to. This past year, I really watched my own palate shift. So I now much more enjoy cooking at home, which is something that, again, I'm not cooking all the time, but there are some recipes that I enjoy, and I find it to be a very mindful experience to do that, and savoring whole foods and crowding out a lot more of the ultra-processed foods. They're just less appealing to me. And it used to feel like a lot of effort to do that, but it became easier this year. And I think part of it was that I allowed a larger exploration of things. I know this is going to sound so silly when I say it, but I just had not had oranges. Honestly, I think we just didn't grow up eating a lot of oranges. I mean, we'd have clementines, but we just were not a big orange family. This past year, when I would be in the 30-30 challenges, I would go into the food store and I would say, I always think we have a member in our group who I absolutely love, Nina. And she said one year how she went into the food store and she thought in her mind, taste the rainbow, right? Which is a Skittles saying that used to be in ads. I encourage in my program for people to eat all different kinds of fruits and vegetables, and we get in more diversity. And so through doing that, I realized different fruits that it was not intentional. I'd not meant to not have those, but I started to bring in more things and I started to have different combinations of things. And I also think I lowered restriction in a way, because I would make, for example, a bag of spinach, wilt it down, and I would put in some whipped cream cheese. And again, it's not a lot, but it makes it so amazing with the right seasoning and a little bit of that creaminess where it is something that I genuinely desire. And so I stopped thinking that these veggies somehow need to not taste amazing or whatever the case might be. I just really leaned in and changed with that. And I think that as we have repeated exposures, our palate changes. I really think that it's about neuroplasticity and it's not willpower. And when I'm always talking about crowding out ultra-processed foods, it really works, but it's a slow and sustainable process. And you have to meet yourself at where you're at. I typically see when I'm working with people, they want that change to occur quicker. They want to be this other person faster. And usually it's that the number on the scale is driving that. But if we were really to work on your relationship with food and let that naturally evolve as we work on it, you end up in a much better spot years down the road. For me, the tastes evolving and what I like to prepare, very different. One of my friends, she was joking in the Instagram DMs with me that I used to not like chia seeds and she's like, now you're raw dogging it. Because I literally just put chia seeds in a glass of water. One of you gave me the tip online as well that did you say in Mexico? I forget where you said it was, but that people put chia seed in lemonade. And I thought that's an amazing idea because Minute Maid Zero, they have all these amazing lemonades. And so that's actually something that I'm going to go today to try to see if I can get those different flavors and just see if I put chia seeds in there. By the way, a pro tip from someone that's now done it a few times. Now I'm an expert at it. What I do is I use let's say 6 to 8 ounces of fluid, and I put in a teaspoon of chia seed. The point here is not to have 3 tablespoons of chia seed, 10, 11 grams of fiber. It's not that. It's a little supplement to your meal. It's the drink that will go with my meal. I just want to be super clear on that. This is not a thick gelatinous thing. You hardly notice that it's happening. You can almost swallow it without even chewing. Sometimes I do like to just chew on the chia seeds, but again, it's almost something that you don't realize is happening. And so I found that was a way just to sneak a little bit of fiber in there. All right, lesson number 2, movement has to become a non-negotiable identity and not a decision. So this is something for a long time I have worked on, a little bit of movement every day, no matter what. But this year I stopped deciding whether I would walk or not, and I just walked. Every morning, if my husband was home, I'd get up at 5:30, be at the track by 6, get that walk done. My husband was out of town 2 days a week, always during the work week. And so those days I would have to get my son on the bus. It's like 7 o'clock. And then I would right away go over to the walking track. And guess what? I had to adjust my working schedule to accommodate this. And I did it because it's a non-negotiable. It wasn't an option for me to not get the movement in and to not feel my best. So it's really interesting if you stop debating and negotiating and you're just like, no, this has to happen, then you're going to figure out how to do it. I really reduced negotiations and a lot of that friction by just pre-deciding. Your decisional fatigue is going to be so much lower at the end of the day if you have already made the decisions and you're just executing on things. So this identity of I'm someone who moves daily, that works better than any motivation of I should move today. It's a core thing that's been solidified at that point. If you're at a place where you have not moved at all, for you, a few times a week, walking around the kitchen twice, that might be a massive step to you. When I first started 5-6 years ago, we had a treadmill. That was something that I got when I was pregnant with my son, and I had gestational diabetes. So after every meal, I tried to move to help with blood sugar regulation. I would get on that thing and I would walk even if I just had my socks on, even if I had flip-flops on and I was too lazy to go upstairs and get socks and put things on. I didn't care. I got on the treadmill. And then you've heard this evolve over time. And I've gone through all these different phases. So someone said to me the other day, oh, I thought you weren't doing weights because you hear different parts on the podcast and you doing more or less strength training. And it's not that I'm not doing strength training. It's that I do just what is necessary for me. For me personally, I don't have to do that much to maintain my muscle base. A few times a week at the track, if I'm doing 10, 20 squats, 10, 20 lunges, 10, 20 of a few other moves, that's enough for me to maintain the muscle mass that I'm at. And I've just personally found if I do too much, I get way too hungry and it backfires on me. And it makes it really hard for me to literally maintain my weight, be able to do anything to control hunger. I just have certain genetics that are dictating this. And that was not the point of number 2 here. But again, just really saying, I'm going to move no matter what. And it's not going to be a decision. It is happening. Number 3, structure creates freedom, especially during busy seasons. So I think that people think that you want this freedom and you want to be able to eat what you want when you want and do what you want on vacation and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm here to say that I don't think structure is restriction. I think it's a scaffolding. It's it's the bumper rails at the bowling alley that make sure that your ball is actually going to get to the end of the road. So even during vacations, holidays, things like that, I still kept up my habits. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But I just got out of this, we're going to do whatever we want and then we're going to come back to reality, which I don't think even last year I did that much. But again, it's a total mentality shift when I realize I day to day am living my dream life. It is no different on vacation. It's just that I might not physically be seeing patients that day. That just really taught me small routines, sticking with the morning walks, sticking with the structured meals. It is a recipe for me to overeat at night if I don't get in some food in the morning and at lunch. And it might not even be a lot. I might not even be that hungry, but there's just something about how it builds up for me and then it's out of control at night. And I just really didn't want to do that anymore. I would prioritize really getting those things in. If you don't have a lot of structure, you can slowly build this out. And it's not about a taskmaster. It's like, I have to do X, Y, Z. But you slowly build out things when you say, when I do that, I feel better. That's what we're looking for. Okay. What I see like with my patient population is, especially those on GLP-1 medications, the structure prevents the two pitfalls you see most, which is number one, underfueling during the day, and number two, overeating at night. We end up solving a lot when we get this structure in place. It gave me a lot of freedom. And I had a lot of times this year where I didn't realize I was doing it, but I would launch a lot of things at the same time. I really didn't know. I was joking with my assistant, Christy. There was one time, I forget if I talked about this on the podcast, we had 4 programs go live at the same time. And it happened on accident. And then I realized, oh, I need to be more planned. Again, that structure creates the freedom that I don't get bogged down by everything happening at the same time. Okay, number 4, you can't outsource your mindset. You have to train it. You think that, well, I'm just going to take this saying that someone said, and now I'm going to believe it. It takes time for it to become who you are. Reinforcing what is that self-compassion that you're practicing, the decisional minimalism of how can I decrease decisions? How can I make it easier? How can I make my environment support me more? How can I keep going? That energy behind it. You have to integrate more of that into your own routines. Mindful meals, catching your thoughts, choosing how you feel first. These things take time. You think you're just going to hear it once and have it. That's a joke. That's a joke. I think the reason that we have so many people that do repeated rounds of 30-30 is that they get in there and they realize, oh my gosh, I'm hearing it differently this time, or I'm at a different place in my journey right now. I'm ready to take a next step. Right? This year was a year, in the middle of the year, I really made the decision I'm going to be working on emotional eating much more. It's not that you can't have lost a ton of weight and had a bunch of results, but there might still be something where that's my Achilles heel. That's the thing I need to work much more on. I joined a program. I got a one-on-one coach with it. I just really committed to, I'm going to work on this. But you want to know the ironic thing? Yes, I did all this, but at the same time, I went slower about it. One of the reasons that I had the one-on-one coach in addition to the group that I joined, and it's the same ladies program, the reason I did this, it's because I knew that I can take small steps and I'll have accountability, but we will take it slow enough versus if I do the program on my own, and I knew if I do the one-on-one aspect, I am going to say, okay, I'm going to practice this thing over the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to meet. So that was a commitment where I really had to train this mindset. And it's not something where other people can do it for me. That was just a really big thing this year. All right, number 5, community and support matter more than any individual tool. What I see just from every program I run and from myself, that firsthand, people stay consistent when they feel support. It's not because of discipline, but it's because they're connected. You don't have to do these things alone. Community, I have seen, accelerates behavior change. It's insanity. And I don't know what it is about it. Is it that we feel connected? I'm all day long learning amazing things. Oxytocin actually plays an amazing role in our metabolism. I know, go figure. So I think to myself, okay, we have more oxytocin because we're connecting. Probably our dopamine levels are higher because we like hearing what people say, or we feel a warmth and connection. We have more ideas top of mind. We are re-engaged more often. It's endless what a group does. But all I know is that I see people that are in a group setting, they just get places a lot faster. It's just true. And it's not only getting there, but staying there. Remember, I'm obsessed with you being able to maintain where you get to. And I find that when people are sort of, I'm going to be on my own, I'm going to make the strictest meal plan, I'm just going to hammer this out in 6 months, you isolated, you got way weird about it. There's no way you can continue this in real life. And then you wonder why you can never maintain it because you went about it in an absolutely nuts capacity. And you would have never been able to sustain that level anyways. This is not a failure. You just truly did not realize that solo intense energy was not sustainable long-term for you. There are a few of you out there where that's your personality type and that actually is you and it's always been you, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to everybody else. Even one touch point, weekly, daily, asynchronous, I don't care. It can hold you to a different trajectory. So just keep that in mind. This can look really different. This could be a group of friends that you have where you once a month do a coffee and everybody checks in what they're doing. It could be a group program that you join. It could be journaling daily, but in some capacity, this like checking in. And I typically just find that the community goes a lot further, but in some capacity, community and checking in. Number 6, you don't need drastic change. You need steady momentum. So the biggest personal and professional lesson this year for me, it's that consistency is more powerful than intensity. I really made the decision this year. One of the words that I had going into it was connection. I wanted to be very intentional with after work, that the hours at night that I spent with my husband and son and stepkids, I wanted that time to be intentional. I wanted to intentionally plan not quote unquote vacations, but time of being with them. Sometimes my son would have an e-learning day and then the day would end early. And I blocked that in my schedule and made sure to have some of his friends over. And listen, it was exhausting to do that. But I know that I want to see him have the connection. I want to be present for these years. And so that meant that maybe I do things in my own business a little bit slower, or maybe my own health goes a little bit slower, but I feel more balanced and sane. And I feel like I'm not missing the things that are valuable to me. We talk a lot about where your time is going. That is what you are saying is valuable to you. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm overworking all the time and I'm not spending time with family, or I don't have any hobbies, I don't have time for that. It's not that you don't have time, you're not making time. You're not prioritizing it. You're not getting it on the list. So this is just this like steady momentum when you do things. Things very quickly develop when you keep slowly going at it. So don't chase like the big Monday reset. If you were just 1 degree better today, you're succeeding. Momentum is really, it's built. It's not something that's found. It's almost as you're doing these things, you don't know they're happening. And then you emerge on the other side and you say, oh my gosh, that was a 20-mile tunnel that I just dug. But you have no idea that happened because you kept working at it. So this is one of those things, what really helped me with not having drastic changes, but really having steady momentum. It's the yearly planning and quarterly planning and monthly and weekly planning. I know that sounds intense, but I go to 2 conferences a year. My coach hosts them and they're women physicians, and we get together and they are massive brainstorming time. It's a 3-day time where we like bunker down in a Airbnb somewhere and we go through what is everything that has happened in the past 6 months. What is everything that we want to happen? What things are holding us back? What things do we want to invest in? What things do we want to create? What things do we want to toss? And you make some intentional decisions instead of letting life just happen to you. You do not need to have a business to do these things. You can do these things just for your own life. Actually, my coach is the same one that told me that she does family meetings where they talk about, okay, what's one thing that each of them want to do over the next few months? So they each need to have a goal. Is it that they want to do a different class or read a book or learn a different skill? But everybody is working on something. Then they decide what trips do they want to do as a family. So they'll visit a lot of the different presidential libraries. So you have to decide that. So it's not just an accident at the end of the year that they've done a few things. They have decided at some point, we are going to do these things and here's what it's going to look like. We're in a day and age where you have to be very intentional to even get little things done, let alone collectively get big things done. So for me, going to those things, I get the perspective, but that's not enough. It's not enough to just have that. What I end up doing is I then come home and I block the next day home. When I get back from these conferences, I need a full work day to implement what I saw. So I will make lists of how I'm going to get that done sequentially, what needs to happen before the next thing can happen. And then I have these lists and I check back on them often. Okay, where am I at quarterly? So I usually think in 3-month increments because you can't really get that much done. You make these big plans, but at the end of the day, I've gotten a lot more realistic with what realistically I can do in certain periods. I know what's going to happen over the next 3 months. And then I'm continually checking in. It is not a shock at the end of 3 months where I am. I'm not like, oh no, I set these 10 things and I didn't achieve it. No, because I've been checking in the entire time. And it's loving. Why is it loving? Because every so often you'll catch that you are way, way out at sea. You had set a North Star and you were in the opposite direction. Isn't that good to find out after a week or two? Or like with patients, when every month we're doing a body composition and then they find out 2, 3 months in that what they're doing is massively not working. Isn't that amazing? Versus there was a clinic that I heard the other day where they're yearly checking the body composition. And I thought to myself, you could have done mass damage in that point. I can't fathom having it be 1 year between body compositions. Now, maybe if you're at maintenance, but even then, that's just like a really long time to not be checking in on your health. And so when you find that's a problem, I can course correct. I can change things. Often the plan will change as well. I don't need to hold myself to, well, that's what you set out with. Different things emerge. And that's why you don't do this drastic change all at once, because even when you're going toward what you want, things will change. And you can just a little bit course correct, but you keep staying on top of it. And that's how you really have amazing momentum. I'm recording here an episode where I talked about what are things that have happened in the business this past year and where am I headed this next year? Because I like to involve all of you because you're listening along and that you can just see the direction that things are going. And I was honestly shocked at how many programs I'd created, how many people had changed their relationship with food when I was looking at all these different things. It just blew my mind. I never set out with that big a vision for this past year. But what ended up happening is I would see, okay, when I'm looking at my community or my patients or the podcast who's writing in, this is what I see as a pain point. Or the other clinicians in my life, some of them were having trouble growing their practices. Well, that was not a challenge for me. And they saw what my social looked like. And so they asked for that program. That was not something where I set out, oh, I want to do social media and I want to have a course where I help other people on this. It came out of some friends approaching me that they wanted the help on this. And that was part of my value because I truly believe that everyone should get the best healthcare possible. And this direct care model, it provides that. I want all those doctors to be successful. So that was actually part of my values as a company, means helping them. Again, it's just this moment where you do not need to have drastic change. It might end up being that way, but when you set out, you're always coming back to what your North Star is. All right, I got a little bit derailed, but these were the main things that really stood out to me. I think number one was really the thing that shocked me the most was just how much my taste buds changed and how much I'm liking being a different person with food and how none of it is diet culture. And I said a sentence a few years ago to a coach and I said, I just don't know if I'm ever going to be able to be someone that does not emotionally eat or that doesn't have this sort of tortured relationship with food. And it was really powerful because the coach did not correct me. They weren't like, it's going to happen. Don't worry. It's going to happen. There was no false reassurance. And they were like, that's really powerful that you're noticing that you're observing that. And then we started to unpack, why did I have that belief? These things are years in the making, but I really do believe it's possible if we want to move in a different direction, if we want to become something that we truly can. And it's just a question of how long is it going to take? Maybe the path looks way different. I just thought that within a year or two, I would have all this solved. And what I've really realized is I'm in no rush anymore because I always like the direction I'm headed. I love my life. I love the things I'm doing. And there's no urgency here. Nothing magical gets to happen if tomorrow this is all solved. And I really think that in life, you always have problems. I'm going to end it here. I hope that you all have an amazing end to the year here, that you have a great New Year's. I'm not sure exactly when this is going to air, but this might be the last episode of the year. And so if I don't see you again until the new year, have an amazing New Year's. That marks the end of today's episode. But if you're newer to the podcast, I want to tell you about something that we have, and it's a free podcast roadmap. So this is perfect for any of you that are listening where you want to be directed to very specific episodes. So let's say that you are just starting out and you want to know, what should I do right when I start on the medications? Or you're experiencing certain side effects on the GLP-1s, or you want to know what to do if you're in a plateau, or if emotional eating is taking over, or if hunger levels are high. So we have many different categories of episodes that we've talked about, because there's a lot at this point. So if you want to be able to navigate that very easily, we have it broken down by category, and also the episodes that are there, and we hyperlink to everything. So you can just click on it and find the episode, easy peasy. If you want that, you can go to rentiaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. We'll have it linked right here underneath the show notes where you're listening. And you can go ahead and get that free resource so that it makes it easy for you to navigate, because I know that it's really hard when someone has an established podcast. I am such a podcast fiend. I'm listening to podcasts all day long. And when I find one that I love, but there's a lot that are out there, I am so lost. So I hope that you enjoy this free podcast roadmap. Again, the link to get to that is going to be rentiaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.